Hi, welcome back to The Mother You Know, The Woman You Don't. Thank you again for coming back every week. Just going to say it every single week because we are so grateful that people are tuning in and coming in and hanging out with us every week. So we are thankful for that,
Except for last week.
except for last week.
We weren't even hanging out
Because
ourselves.
let me just say, you girls were struggling last week. So we are not no longer, we're back down in it because we're no longer like ahead 33 like we were at some point when we were bragging about being ahead like 22 episodes. We're so cool. Now we're desperately clawing
Yes.
for content. So last week was the struggle of struggled buses. Like we have just had
Yes.
so much going on. And like mom and dad were in town. You would have thought that we literally were all three physically within a mile of each other. You're not even a mile from my house, are you? Like a half a mile.
Yeah, we're like
Yeah.
less than 2 minutes.
Yeah. From my house. We were all in the same vicinity and could barely, like, I don't even think we saw each other. I don't even think we got together. Nope.
You came
We
over
could
for
not.
dinner Saturday night, but
Yeah, Saturday,
that's
but
it.
the podcast was due last Thursday.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were already
Right. We
past it.
couldn't
So
get
at
our
some point
stuff
we talked
together.
about like trying to do it Friday, trying to do it Saturday, and then it was like, you know what? Throw in the O towel and
Like we'll
give up.
get up early and we'll do it tomorrow. Like that was a lie. We weren't gonna do that.
No,
And
we'll
Well,
stay
we
up late.
tried.
Saturday. We'll get
We
together. Nope.
we talked about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that night when we talked about doing it, me and mom were sitting on the couch and it's like, have you heard from Dorcas? Like, no, have you heard from Dorcas? Like, don't call her.
Yeah.
Don't say nothing. We're tired. Like we're so
And I'm
tired. I
in
was
the
like, I
car.
don't even care right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Like
And I'm in the car thinking, oh God, I gotta call. I'm not gonna call. I'll call later. Yeah, I'll call. I just won't call. I won't call. So yeah, it's so
we
yeah,
just need
sorry about
sometimes you
that.
just need a break. Sometimes you
Yeah.
just need a little
I
little
think we
break
just needed
quit.
all a reset because we just had so much going on individually that it just felt
And we
it
did.
felt overwhelming and we probably just would have got on here and cried.
Probably.
Nobody needs to hear that. So, but I think one of the things we did do well is we did talk about. I found a couple of podcasts this past, I don't know, last 2 weeks or something, and had sent them to Mom and Lydia, and they sparked a lot of good conversations. And then it was something I think a couple of Saturdays ago, because Houston, we get a span of about 10 days of good weather in the spring, and then it's hot, which it's hot now and the mosquitoes are out, so you can't do anything. So you have about 10 good days, which you're working 5 of the days, and so that means you have 2 Saturday and a Sunday that are nice. And we just happened to get up one morning and we're sitting outside and the kids came outside and Cody was out there talking, and we were just talking about different things, talking about life in general and things that they're wanting to do, and without talking about too much of their stuff. He and I were talking about, I don't know if it was like more like, you need to be, go to the Bible if you have a question about this, pray about this, pray about it. We were talking about different things. And he said something that really it struck me funny, or not really funny. I guess I thought it was more sad because I did tell Dwayne, I think it's sad that our children think, or he thinks that there's a level of perfection that has to be reached before you can be a Christian or before you can be close to God. So it was something like he said something like he doesn't want to be a hypocrite and he's not where he can be perfect. So he doesn't know if he can serve God. And I just thought that was so strange because I thought, well, so in his mind, you have to be this, I guess in his mind, you have to be, or he was thinking, you have to be a pastor to serve God. Like you have to be this level of,
You have to be
cuss.
pastor-esque.
No, you have to be a
Yeah.
saint. You
Yes,
have
you
to
have to
be
be
what the
you don't have
world
to
would
be
consider.
like a church pastor, but you have to be at that level.
Yeah, you have to be a saint
Yeah.
to serve God. I just immediately was like, dude, like, have you met me? Like,
Yeah.
not even close.
Don't you
And
know
was
your
telling
Nana?
her,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
she went on how many times, what did you say you were even, God wandered in the desert for a while? Like you just
Yeah.
quit doing
40 days.
everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
You
there was
just
a period where you just stopped,
stopped.
after
Yeah.
being so many years in the church, stopped. And it was like for years, you either didn't
Mhm.
go, if I'm speaking out of turn, tell me, but
No,
it was a period, right?
we didn't find a place of committed worship, or, we didn't join a church or be involved in a church for at least 2 years after
Yeah.
we'd visit here, but nothing like every Sunday, every Tuesday, every whatever. So
Yeah,
we
like what we did for
didn't.
years.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
that doesn't mean we didn't study our Bible. We didn't
Yeah.
talk about the Lord. We didn't enjoy the Lord. But we didn't go regularly to church because a lot of times we were in Houston. We come to Houston with y'all a lot of times. That was when we could come back and forth, and we weren't going to church. But let me just say, I wasn't unhappy. I wasn't unhappy. I wasn't unhappy. I guess I
Yeah.
wasn't under conviction. Not that we weren't going to, we intended to, but you know, and then when we did, it was just a natural thing to go. So I
Yeah.
don't think we struggled about not going, but it was
Yeah. But
easy to
didn't
get back
somebody
into.
say something to you about, sister, you should be back in the church, or you should be back serving or something? And you said even the Israelites or even the Jews wander in the desert or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I
No,
probably
you said
did.
not all those who wander are
Yeah,
lost.
that's right. All that
Yeah.
wanders is not lost.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I
Yeah.
remember that now. Thank you. I need to
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah. So I did think of
That's
that.
true.
I was thinking, it's not
But
perfect.
the Lord, he just wasn't distant to me. No, what Cody just said, that's nothing new to any of us. So had you felt that way before? You
No,
know.
I'm not. I had not felt that way ever. I guess,
Yeah.
for me, it was like the opposite, where it was like, well, and maybe I didn't always feel that way, but it's been a while since we've been in a church setting. But I feel closer now to God doing this, doing the Bible study, or not closer,
Hmm.
but I feel content right now. I feel at peace right now. I feel like I'm serving probably more through this than anything we've ever done.
Yeah.
I loved being when we were at First Church in Humble and our kids were little and we were going and we were involved in the Bible study and the women's ministry. And I loved, working with Hildy and the women who led that. It was
Yes.
fantastic. Like I really loved that period in our life, but it feels like that again now. It feels like
Yes.
this is that for us. And it doesn't have to look, I don't feel the pressure of it having to look any certain way.
Yes. True.
So I think that's what I was trying to explain to him, is that it just doesn't matter what your interface. I said, dude, you're a welder. Go find you 3 welding buddies who are Christians and figure out what y'all can do. It's what your gift and your ability is, I think. I don't think it
Hmm.
has to look any kind of way. I just think God can use people in any form.
Yes. And he does, because that his presence is everywhere, in the grocery store, online, in these podcasts. I look at my social media, and there are so many messages on TikTok and Facebook, and that just really exemplify Christ. I mean, it's just never ending. It's never ending. And the podcast and the feeds that I go into, or even the people at church that post stuff and we just send it on, and all that. And even what we're doing, I think God's in the middle of it. He's
Yeah.
absolutely in the middle of it. And it
Yeah.
don't have to be preachy or churchy all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what I told him is that, the one gift that I see in him is that he is willing to help, physically
Yes.
help if he sees somebody in need. Just throughout the course of his life, there has been instances of, we were driving down the street one time and him and Dwayne were in a car in front of me and I was behind him. And all of a sudden we all stopped on the road, like a car in front of Dwayne stopped and I stopped, slammed on our brakes, and all of a sudden, I see my son get out of the car and take off running down the side of the road. And what had happened is a toddler had walked out of an apartment complex onto the road in a diaper, like no adult, just,
Hmm.
and he had scooped this child up and started walking towards the apartment complex. And I am now out of my car because he was probably in middle school, maybe, when this happened. And I'm thinking, where's my child going? So my car is in park. I'm out of my car and I'm, following around. And then luckily the parents had come out and grabbed the baby or whatever. And Cody walked back to the car, but it's like he doesn't hesitate. He's got that natural ability to help.
Yes. He
And,
always has.
even that
Yeah.
it probably the day before we were talking about this, we were at a festival in town and it's in a rodeo arena and it's dirty, like dirt. And there's a little old man pushing his wife in a wheelchair. And we were just looking and I looked around and was thinking, where's Cody at? And he's over here helping this old man trying to get his wife, he's like, oh, can I help you? He's just always willing to help. And I was
Yes.
just trying to explain to him that that's your gift, dude. If it's day to
Yeah.
day, if that's all you
Now
do
you
is
got me
walk through
teared up.
life,
You got me
I know
teared up.
because he's such
Yeah.
he's such
He
a
is.
but he doesn't.
True.
But if he walks through life day to day and he just has an open heart to help people when they need it, That's your gift. That's your
Yeah.
ministry.
Yeah.
Why can't that be enough? You know?
Mm-hmm.
I was just telling
It's
him that
his gifting.
that's
It's
what it
his
is. That's
gift
what
from
it is.
God. Yeah. He
Yeah.
needs to recognize
That's
that.
just what it is. You don't have to be on a pulpit. I don't want to be on the pulpit. You
I don't
know,
want to be
I
on
don't
the
want to sit up.
pulpit.
I mean, Dad likes to get up there and he looks nice and he likes to. I don't want to do that. Like I want to stand
He's
in the
good at
back.
it. Yeah.
He's good at it. Yeah, it's what he's called to do. And I think God has called us to do this in this form,
Yes.
but I don't want to stand in front of people.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I've had to get used to is that we're just a small congregation and we're all 50 to 90. And so we don't have children. We don't have a preschool department. We don't have all those things that I was so involved in my previous life. So, and we don't go out on Tuesday nights and visit, and very few people come back on Sunday night because we live so far in the woods that our little people, they don't get out at night, you know there's deer that gets in the street and there's pigs, hogs that, get in the street. And so it's different. And we don't even come out on Wednesday night or Thursday night, but daddy's online though. And he's
Yeah,
teaching and Bible studies and all. And there's people in Zambia and Kenya that get on his Bible study on Thursday night, you know? So there's so many different ways of ministering. It's just different. But you have to use your gifts and your talents. And Cody's got it. He
yeah.
got it, don't he? Yeah.
Well,
So that was
and that's what I
sweet.
hope that he walked away
Hmm.
understanding is that it's not, it doesn't have to look any kind of way. It just can be whatever your gift is,
Yeah.
just use it. Whoever you are, just use it for good and not
Yeah.
evil.
Well, it doesn't have to look like it always looked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Uh,
Well, also,
well,
I think it can change too, right? So,
yes, it
like,
does.
I feel like when I
But
was
hey,
younger,
I'm not running a preschool department. You're not going to get me in a room with 2-year-olds nowadays. I'm going to tell them Jesus loves him, but I'm not in a nursery. I'm not teaching 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds. I love them. I
yeah,
love that time, but not now. I'm doing good to do a Bible study for 60 and 70-year-olds. And we're
yeah,
having a good time. Let me just say, we are having a fantastic time
yeah.
in
But I
our
mean, it can be
Bible
different
study.
for like
Yes,
there are different seasons of your life because even I think at some point it's like you're ministering, when I was staying home, you're ministering to your children, you're taking care of your
absolutely.
children, you're caring for your husband.
Yeah.
That can be your ministry. You're involved in the women's ministry. And then it's, you're part of the baseball moms or, whatever. I think it can just phase out or phase differently and look differently. So
Yes.
now, I want to do this. I want to be a good person at work. And that's about it. The
Yeah.
scope of what I can handle.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and
because I think because there's so many other avenues of fellowshipping with other people,
Mhm.
don't you think? And even on this podcast, we really had a good time talking with people, and people are happy to share, whatever their testimony or whatever they're going through, or it's certainly not some of what we've gone through, but it's
Yeah.
what they've gone through, and they need to. And I think the little lady last that we were talking to, she said it's all these things that we've gone through has prepared us for the next uh, phase of our life, So
Mhm.
clearly,
Can you unmute Lolly?
I did, yeah. I mean, I think he's in the back. Sorry, my yard guys here. We love him, but yeah.
yeah, because we're not going to fire him or send him back
No,
Yeah.
we
or tell him
said
to
he's
come back
right.
later.
I've
Yeah,
said this before, and I'm just side note. It ranks my husband, my children, and Lewis the yard guy. He's
Yeah.
right there. I love him more than I love y'all because he takes care of my house for me because I'm not doing it. So, anyways, yeah.
So Lydia, I guess if you want to just chime in, I'll cut all this part out, but about your thoughts on ministry.
I mean, I think I think what you're saying. I think it is very different because one of the things that when we started listening, I'm sure we'll talk about the different podcasts that we've been listening to the last couple of weeks, from other people and their stories and their
yes,
testimonies. And one of the things that I've kind of realized the other day is that with my personality and just whatever, y'all know me, I'm definitely more of the pessimist of our little group here. I'm not a glass half empty girl. I am not. That's just I to me that's a self-preservation thing. I'm whatever. And I have never been that girl who's been like on fire for God. I love God. I believe in God. I believe that Jesus is a savior and he's the only way you get to heaven. I believe all those things wholeheartedly. But it's kind of that thing with my personality where I'm like, this is my excited face. And there's been a part of me sometimes who has been jealous of those people. Like I can name like people who are on fire for God and their ministry is on fire and they set things ablazing everywhere they go. And I've never been like that.
I
I've
don't think I'd
never,
be.
but I don't think it
Gosh.
diminishes the fact that like again, this is my excited face,
Yeah.
and it's the same like that for Jesus. And so I feel like you can have that and still be that. You can still have your ministry, whatever it looks like, because I think that people who are not raised in the church, maybe it's part of that thing like what Cody was saying, that there's this expectation of perfection, or there's this expectation of that when you get saved and you decide to walk with the Lord, that all your problems are solved, that everything is going to be beautiful and hunky dory and all this stuff. And that's just not true. That hasn't been my experience, because I feel like Satan doesn't have you anymore. And he can very well attack you more because he's going to, kind of think he can't have your soul, but he's going to take your daily and he's going to, whatever. So life isn't perfect and beautiful and all the time. And I struggle. Like I said, y'all know me better than, anybody. You've known me longer than my husband's known me. Y'all are constantly having to tell me, to trust in God and all this kind of stuff. And I don't, that's not my natural go-to. When people are like, well, you got to trust in God, God's going to take care of it. I'm like, well, there's an arrogance about me where I think I can handle it. So of course I'm going to worry about it. And I'm going to say I'm going to give it to Jesus, but I'm going to turn around and I'm going to worry about it. I'm going
Like
to worry
those
about the fact that I
memes.
gave it to Jesus, but can he really do it as good as I can do it?
Those memes where the girl's like, it's like a picture of her and it's just like, I trust the Lord in all that he does and da, 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 da. And then
And
you
yeah,
swipe and it's a picture of Jesus. He's like, no, she doesn't, because she complains 55 times a day. She never calls. She
yeah,
never,
she doesn't
she
trust
never,
me. She did
Yeah.
not stop worrying
yes,
about it. She, in fact, worried
yeah,
more about it.
yeah,
Well, even because even Jesus warns us, he says, you're going to have tribulations in this world.
yeah,
Yeah,
You're going to the poor, you're always going to have the poor,
yeah.
yeah.
and also he warns us. He says, yeah,
Yeah, I
watch
think
out for
that's
the
just
devil,
human.
because the
That's
devil's
just a
after you.
human. Yeah.
You know,
Because
it
what's
is
so
the
funny is
human part of us.
it is. I
It
was
is.
at work the other day, and at work you don't talk religion or politics, and so I didn't bring up Jesus. Somebody else brought up Jesus. So I'm like, the perfect time to chime in. We were talking about something, and a coworker said, I don't even remember what the context of it was, but we were in the office and we were at the warehouse, and he made a comment about manna from heaven. I think we were talking about ordering lunch. He's like, "That's manna from heaven," and I was like, "Yeah,
Mono.
but I'm just." I said, "But don't get me wrong.
Not
God's
you,
gonna."
it's Dorcas.
I said,
Not
"God's
you.
gonna give me." We had euros, but he was like, it's kind of mana. But he made the comment, and I made the comment of, yeah, but just like the Israelites, I'm still going to bitch and moan about things, even though God's going to grant the promises, because that's what they did. I studied Exodus. I get it. That's one of my favorite Bible studies. God, and I told him, I said, then that's where I struggle, because God delivers time and time again. God gives the manna from heaven. He takes you where he needs to go. He fights off the bad armies coming after you. And I'm still the person whining to God about all my troubles when he has proven time and time again. And he has provided, he's done all those things. And so it's kind of turned into this whole thing about like, you really need to go study the book of Exodus,
Yeah.
because I am the Israelites. I'm going to whine and complain. And I'm going to tell God that, God, please do this for me. He's going to do it. And then I'm going to turn around and whine about the next thing, because that's just what I do.
Yeah, and I heard somebody say the Israelites would have rather been in slavery than been free
Yes.
and have
And
Yes.
faith.
thank you.
Rather
That's
Yes.
enslaved because it's
Yeah,
that's
easier.
true.
it is.
Yeah, it
Well,
was. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Well,
that
it's
was
that
good.
I think it's
Yeah.
that victim mentality. And I think that a lot
Yeah,
of people struggle with, because if you are the victim of your circumstances or whatever's happening around you, there's no responsibility in that, because you don't blame the victim.
yeah,
If you're the victim, then you are not responsible for anything that happens to you. So it's easier to take that on and be like, this was done to me, so it's not my fault. And I can just gripe and moan about it and go about my day. But God has delivered time and time and time again,
He does.
and I feel like the only thing that I have is what my ministry could be, would be those stories. And I don't always have faith in them, even when they're smacking me in the face, like with the stuff that going through the last couple of weeks, and God has delivered time and time again. And I'm still over here worried about it and stressing about it. And my husband, who's the most chill person on the planet, is just like, babe, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Like,
I think he
it's
smokes
taken
dope.
care of. And it
Too
has.
chill.
He's
Hey,
too
what?
chill.
I think Jared smokes dope because he's too chill.
He doesn't, but
He
like when
doesn't.
he doesn't, he does
He's
not.
just
But
easygoing.
he is easygoing, and and I think
Hmm.
that I mean, if I had to be it would be that ministry is learning to do those things that maybe other people would learn to do those things just to
Well, I
trust
think
God
it's,
and, you know,
you know
Ministry
what,
or not.
yeah.
but it's just a spiritual growth.
Yeah.
It's just growing where you're trusting, the things of the flesh, you're just trusting the Lord or the Spirit of God. So it's a spiritual growth thing too,
But I think
because
part of
I
that too,
want, no, I want to be at peace with what's happening around us. And we
yeah.
were not, look, y'all know the other night, we were not at peace at all. We were just hysterical. We were just hysterical about losing daddy's phone and everything that was possible if someone got a hold of it and took every piece of
let's set the
password
stage
for
for people,
everything.
shall
Yeah,
we?
so let's set
Yeah.
this because this
Oh
is
Yes.
my
one
gosh.
of
Our
those
This is,
things
father
I could have
left
spanked y'all.
Our father lost his phone at the academy in Humble, Texas. And my father is a preacher and he's got contacts for the last, God, however many years.
you don't even know.
And the things that my father keeps on his phone, whether it's personal passwords and all this kind of stuff, it was just,
On an
he left it
unlocked
on,
phone.
on and unlocked. And I could tell him,
Okay.
Mama, I'm sure his phone is locked and they can't get in there. I think y'all have a lock on your
It
phone,
was,
right?
Nope.
It was, and they didn't get any
Gotta
sleep.
go.
So they're supposed to
We're
get
all
up the
dogging
next
life with
morning.
our phone.
They go back to academy. They can't find the phone. They're doing the track my phone on Life 360. They can't find it or whatever. And Mom will let you tell part of that story, but they get home, whatever. And Daddy's supposed to go to a doctor's appointment. Like they're supposed to leave at 4:45 the next morning.
yes.
I get up at 4:30 because I have to leave for my doctor's appointment at like 6. So I get up and I'm just whatever. And Jared gets up with me and he comes in at like 4:35 and he goes, babe, they're not even up yet. I was like, I heard him. He goes, they're not up. They're supposed to leave. And like, so I went in there and he's like right behind me and we go to the room and knock on the door. And Mom comes to the door and is like, y'all have to leave in like 10 minutes. And Mom's just like, yeah, we canceled. We canceled all of his stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, you
We
canceled
were,
his procedure. You don't have a procedure.
Yeah, it's not even a test or a
Yeah,
doctor. It was a
it was a
procedure.
procedure.
at a hospital.
Yeah.
She's like, we just canceled. We've been up all night. We just couldn't sleep. And so we're like staying at it's all pitch black in the house. We even turned the lights on. So me and Mom are in the hallway and Jared's standing there and Dad's still in bed. And we're and I feel like from a technology point of view, trying to troubleshoot what he should do. And Dad gets very hyper fixated on things. So Dad wants to go to the bank. He wants to go to the bank and he wants to have the bank fix the problem. And I'm trying to tell him, like, Daddy, that's not going to do anything. Like that doesn't solve any of the problems. And I can admit that I don't think I made the situation better because I'm getting frustrated, but I'm trying to tell him, well, Dad, this is what you need to do. You need to do this and this, and you can't do that if you don't have a phone. Like you can't reset all this stuff. You have to just go get a phone first. And we're kind of troubling. Jared's over there Googling where the closest phone store is. And it's all this it's so chaos at 4:35 in the morning and pitch black. And I just laid in bed and he's like facing away from us. And he's like, I can't even talk about this anymore. And he just like rolls over. And me and Jared and Mom were like, okay, we're going to the kitchen to get coffee. We'll just let Daddy. And it's one of the things that you just kind of give up. And you're just like,
Well, the thing was to cancel, we needed the text in the phone that had the number for all of that. And it was like, how do we it was the most frustrating thing because we needed to do this, but we couldn't do this because we didn't have the phone and we didn't have the text and we didn't have the phone number. We couldn't even off the top of our heads come up with the clinic that he's going to be at or, all that. And so I said, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Don't you have your papers with you that the doctor gave you? And he said, yes, I do. Thank God. Because it had the phone number in it that you could call and cancel. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, which I'm saying, there's not going to be nobody there. There's not going to be nobody there. You're not going to get out nobody. They actually answered the phone and put him over
it's a
to
hospital,
somebody.
Mom. It's 24 hours.
Yes. So anyway, we were able to do that. So that's why, and that was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And that's why we're still laying there at 4:30 because we had not been to sleep all night long. Because all you can do is thinking about what can happen if someone gets, because we called. I mean, we called within an hour of not having it. And the little girl at the store said, well, we'll send somebody out back there to look for it. And when they went back there, this one kid that was sent back there said, there's no phone back there. We couldn't find no phone. And so we turned around from Crosby and went back to Humble and went in there. And so I went to the little girl at the cash register and she said, well, we've already looked and we sent so-and-so to go look. And so I went back there to where the
Mom's all
restroom
busting into the
was.
men's room.
Look, that was my next step. So I went back there, but it was by the In that academy, the restrooms are by the gun counter and the ammo and all the sporting goods and all that. So it's a long counter. And there was a young man back there and a girl. And all I said was, look, we're looking for a phone that was left in the restroom. Has the phone been turned in here? And this kid had the funniest look on his face. He said, oh, well, I looked for it and it wasn't back there. And so about that time, I turned my phone, because I had tracked his phone on my phone. And I just showed him that phone is here. It's here. And he kind of rushed back there because he said, well, I'll look again. So he rushes back there. He was in there for a few minutes and he come back and said, it's not in there. And daddy come in and he went searching and all that. And so we give the manager a number and took his name and number. And so that was that night that we never went to sleep because we knew the phone was somewhere.
And we were tracking it like
we were tracking
all
it. It
night
had
long.
not
We could
left.
see it in Academy.
It was in Academy. So anyway,
I mean, it's one of you're trying as a it's one of those things you're trying not to lecture your parent. Going, why is your phone not locked? What do you mean you don't lock your phone? Like, what do you mean you don't have? So you're trying to not put yourself in that position where I'm like, mother, like, what are you thinking? Like behind closed doors, me and Jared are like, what do you mean they don't lock it? You don't lock the phone. What do you mean? And Jared's like, I was like, I don't know.
Because life is just simple to us. We just don't realize how delicate things are and how easy things can be stolen and shifted.
Like, what do you mean someone could go into the folder called passwords and get information about that? What do you mean?
Well, that's what I kept asking her. Do you think is it like in a password thing or is it just
they're hidden
on a Post-it note on notes on your phone?
It was a little notepad. He's got it all on a notepad. It's all
PWS.
Yes. Actually, it's under contacts. Everything's under contacts.
Okay. Don't put it out there now because he loses his phone again.
He's not. I tell you what, the world, no. Ain't nobody ever going to get to that information, ever. I'm telling you right now. So,
no, so we spent the whole,
the whole night.
Yeah.
And then we spent the morning. Yeah. Well, we spent the whole next morning trying to get a new phone. Well, then we learned that you can't get an unlocked phone. And that's all we were looking for. We were just going to go get another phone, get everything dumped on another iPhone and blah, blah, blah. And we couldn't even do that.
And it was a whole other thing explaining to mom and dad about the cloud.
You're right.
And tried to explain to them about all you have to do, mom, is once you log into the cloud when you set up your thing. I said, because we set up them on the cloud, obviously, at some point, I was like trying to explain to them how it all works. And at some point, you just kind of go, you know what, just go get the phone and I'll do it. Just bring it to me and I will do it and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And we're going to be like Gibbs and we're going to have a flip phone. If Liam Neeson can save his daughter on a flip phone, we can do this. It's fine. Yeah.
Well, we're doing better,
I was like, long story short, later that day.
Long story short, later on that afternoon, before noon, I said, okay, because we were going to go find another phone and spend hundreds of dollars getting him a new iPhone. And I just happened to, we learned that you can buy an unlocked phone at Best Buy. So now we're going back to Humble to Best Buy to try to find an unlocked phone. And I thought, I'm just going to call one more time. And I called, and the little girl that answered, I asked for Spencer, who was the manager. And she said, he's not here today. Can I get another manager? I said, yes, ma'am, you can. She said, can I tell him what it's for? And I said, well, we were in yesterday and we had left our phone in the men's restroom. And she goes, oh my goodness, we found your phone. And she was more excited than I was that they had my phone. And she was so sweet. And so I said, hang on to her, girl, because we'll be there within 30, 40 minutes. And when I got there, she was just the sweetest little thing. And she was so excited about finding that phone. And I thought maybe she was Pentecostal because she had her hair up in a bun and she was in a skirt where everybody else is in slacks. And so I thought, you know what? God has his children everywhere. And so when she brought it to him, I said, do you believe in miracles? She says, I sure do. And then she told me how the nighttime janitor had found it in the trash can. And he said, I picked up the trash can and it was kind of heavy. And so I dumped it and there was this phone. So he brought the phone to the office. And I said, well, let me tell you what, my husband's a pastor. And she said, she was just so sweet. And so we both agreed that God is good and that this was a real miracle because whoever put it in the trash can, because it wasn't an accident, because Daddy said he said I didn't go to the trash can. He said I just used the sanitation, squirty stuff on the wall. So he said I wasn't near the trash can. So it wasn't. He didn't have the trash can. I thought, well, maybe it fell off his belt, but no, no. He said I laid it right there and walked off and left it, and so it ended up in a trash can. It's like, how did that end up in a trash can? But anyway, God is good.
Someone
And
feel guilty.
yeah, so
And I think that's one of the times where you look at that situation and go, well, maybe, maybe God didn't want him to have his procedure that day. Maybe God wanted y'all to be, I don't know. So you're going to have to look for those things. Like maybe God just wanted to intervene, or maybe God needed to work on somebody who has a sticky finger problem and needed them to be
yeah,
convicted and
yeah.
get rid of evidence. And, whatever. You just don't know what God's lessons are.
You don't, because Daddy and I both felt. I said, you know what, I have felt uneasy about this procedure. And he said, you know what? I have too. And a lot of times we just have peace about things. Oh, hey, go get it done. It's just a medical, whatever, whatever. So, but in this digital age, there's so much good that can happen, but there's just some bad stuff too. So, but we were talking about trusting God and being that person that just is at peace and trusting God and relaxing and going to sleep. That wasn't us. It wasn't us. But after she handed me that phone, I thought, I'm going to trust God for anything to do, whatever God's going to do, because it really was a miracle and an answer to prayer. Again,
The first thing we did once I got back to the house with that phone was set them up on passwords on your phone, facial ID, fingerprint ID.
yeah.
We're going to do it all. Both of their phones. Give me your phones. And we were all sitting on the couch. I'm like, put your thumbprint right here. Look at the thing. Do the facial scan. We're doing all that.
It's locked, baby. It is locked.
Yes. It is Fort Knox of phones up in here
Yeah,
now.
that's the truth. That's the
So
truth. So we are
pretty entertaining.
we're just we're just smarter about it today than we were
Yeah,
last week.
I did tell Dwayne that afternoon. I said, I think we need to sign up for 1Password because that's what I used to use.
Uh-huh.
And they have like a family plan. I was like, it's $60 a year. I'll put us all on it. We'll just all
Yeah.
get on it and
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
dang passwords instead of saving them on a
Yeah.
Post-it, which honestly, I'm not the greatest either, Mom, because I keep them. I only have a few, but like a lot of mine are on, like on the Microsoft password or whatever that remembers, sets the really strange passwords and remembers them. But I do have a couple things that are written in my calendar, hand calendar, paper calendar.
Yes.
There's little post-it notes with some bank accounts on it in there that I thought to myself the other day.
Post it on my
Yeah.
computer right here. It's right here. So good
Yeah,
Lord.
so I think I did tell myself the other day, well, you need to do better too. So,
Yeah.
because if you lose your
Yeah.
calendar, they're gonna get it all.
So so
But
stressful. I was stressed
it's
out looking at them being stressed out.
yeah. But it is the
Because
thing where I think I agree with you, Mom. I think you just want to live in that place where when things happen, it's not nonchalant, but it's like, okay, well,
I can trust God. I can trust
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. I've been saying that a lot lately. I feel like with just every little thing, that
Yeah.
has been, or not little thing, but a couple of big things that have been popping up, and I just keep fighting, losing my crap.
That's
It just
true.
Finding that balance between things being okay and Chicken Little and the world ending.
Yeah.
Like a nice
Yeah.
medium. Like I'm
Yeah.
not sure what that's called.
Yeah.
Faith.
Yeah. Well, another thing I think, Dorcas, even with our Bible study that we're doing on the heart of Jesus, and where
Yeah.
he was trying to teach his disciples to be at peace, and he said, "My peace I give you, not as the world gives, but I'm giving you my peace." Don't think I wasn't saying, "Okay, Jesus, where is your peace? How am I going to get peace? How am I going to go to sleep?" And the story was Jesus sent his disciples across the Sea of Galilee in the boat. Said, "You go over there, I'll come catch up with you." Well, when they got out there in the middle of the sea, the storm was raging, and they're scared. And here he comes walking on the water. And you just never know when he's going to show up. And my thought was, yeah, that's his peace right there. And when she handed me the phone, I thought, "Ah, there he is walking on the water." I guess it's not till we see
Look
his
at him. He
face.
worked for
Look at him. There he is. Good. Yes. So you think I don't want to live in that place of
I don't live
conflict
in
or
panic
chaos,
and
and it
stress.
was chaotic. It was stressful and
Yeah.
chaotic. And I just don't want to live in that place of chaos and all. But and you know what? It just happened so fast. You just didn't see it coming because we were just in Humble. I wanted a pair of shoes. We were going to wash the car, and then we are coming back to the barbecue place and grab barbecue and bring barbecue to the house and just chill out the rest of the evening. And I mean, it turned loose like a.
Over
I
here
can't
stalking
even.
them on
I
Life
can't even.
360. And they've been on Academy for 3 years, 3 hours. Mom said we're going to stop and get some shoes. And I'm looking at them going, oh my God, woman, pick your shoes already. Like, pick some shoes because they were going to bring dinner.
Yeah.
And I was getting hungry. And I'm like, we are never going to get food. Oh my God, why are you still at Academy? Because they still had to go from there to go meet James for barbecue and then bring us leftover barbecue.
Bring y'all
And I'm
some
looking at the
barbecue.
phone. I'm telling Jared, I'm like, oh my God, Mom needs to pick a freaking pair of shoes already. Like, why are you still at Academy? It's been 3 hours.
Yeah. So
Not to make it all about me
that's
and my hunger, but
that's true.
Mom.
But just gosh, just trying to trust the Lord. But it was just chaos. So we were trying to get there. So and
Yeah,
we
but
did.
that's in that, like you said, it just happens really fast. That's every part of life. Everything just comes at you
Absolutely.
really quickly. And if you're constantly reacting to it, it's just, I feel like I just did that for years. It just reacted to bad stuff and overreacted and whatever. It just feels so much better. Maybe it's a 50 thing where it just feels like it hits you and you're just like, meh, meh.
I think it's
Yeah.
emotional intelligence. It's those things not reacting based on emotion, which I think we all still do. I mean, I think we all still do to some degree, but it's learning to look at that situation and realize logical,
Mhm.
based on facts or based on whatever, instead of how I'm feeling at that moment and what my fifis tell me.
Yeah.
That's I think it's just normal, just a normal thing because it's it's so much easier just to fly off the handle.
But yeah, but it's not peaceful.
No, it's not. It's
No, it's
It's
not
stressful.
not
peaceful.
relaxing. It's
No.
stressful. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to
Yeah.
live in this head when I'm like
Yeah.
that.
But there's just when there's circumstances beyond your control that because life shifts, it's like a
Yeah.
earthquake
Which I
hits
think is the
and the
point
whole
too. Like,
world shifts. So
yeah, the point too, like with your, trying to figure out who you are in your ministry and stuff like that, it's going to mature as you mature, I think.
yes.
And it doesn't, just back to the point of it doesn't have to look like just the fact that we can sit and share these stories and sit and give these examples of still freaked out, still lose it. She's
Yeah.
70 and she's the most calm person. She's the most with Jesus that we know. And yet you're going to lose a whole
Yeah.
night's sleep
Just
over
lays it.
a
Yeah.
cell
Yeah.
phone. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Well, Danny and I were leaving Walmart and we were just flabbergasted at what we are learning here. And
uh-huh.
then, I said, well, look, baby, we just have to be good to each other because look, both of us could have just lost our minds over this.
Mhm.
And so we just have to be kind to each other and help each other through this because look, he said, and he told Lydia, he said he come so close to he was having such an angina attack over
Yeah.
worrying over that phone. He said, I've not come this close to having needing to call an ambulance, because he was suffering from angina.
Yeah. And
And that's
that's too
scary.
far. Like, that's too much.
Yeah, that's too
It's too much.
much.
When
Yeah,
you
it's
start
too
thinking, like,
much.
in hindsight, I think when you're on the front side of it, it's always hard. But like in hindsight, it's like, you could have just prayed for the phone to be, God, if it's going to disappear, let it disappear. The flip side prayer, let it just disappear in the abyss and nobody has access to it, could have been the prayer. You know what I
Oh, we
mean? Could
prayed
have
all
been
those.
the,
Oh, we
no,
prayed
but I
that
mean,
one and a
could have been
thousand
the
others. Yeah.
calming to the
We were praying.
panic. It
Yes,
just been like,
yes.
God, just
Yeah,
let the phone disintegrate. Let it be flushed down the toilet if that's
yeah,
the
yeah,
case. That way you don't have that stress.
yeah. But no doubt about it, he put his hand on it. There's no doubt about it in my mind. And that thing ended up in the trash can, and that's all she wrote. So who knows? Who knows if
Who'd have thought that this episode would
who
have been all about the cell phone in a trash can? Of all the
so
things that we've talked about.
but it come back home,
Yes.
So
We're gonna get
anyway,
Daddy one of those things. He immediately started looking for like one of those, like his like old biker wallet that had the chain that attached to his belt
Yeah.
loop. Immediately looking for like phone cases that he could
yeah,
like
oh,
Daisy
we're
do a
looking
chain.
for yeah,
big
One of the
daisy chain.
and
Yes,
link it to his
yes,
to
pants.
his yes.
yeah. And now it's, I'll hold it. I'll hold that thing. Give it to me.
Yeah.
So like
It's
for the
in my
next
pocket of my
48 hours,
purse.
every time we went anywhere, like Jared was the first one to go, you got your phone? You got your phone?
I
Got your phone?
know. See, it affected everybody. And we were just, oh my goodness. So we're just happy today.
Yeah.
We're thanking the Lord. But you, that's something to remember next time and think, okay, you know what? God took care of that. I think I'm
Yeah.
going to calm down here and look for him
The
walking on the
manna from
water.
heaven.
Yeah, come through the,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I think that's the point, right?
Yeah,
Is that you do enough of these. I think we just happen to be a little bit more hard headed than some people, maybe. Maybe it
maybe,
takes a little more for us,
maybe,
but you go through enough of these things. And I think every
yes,
time Dwayne and I bring something up where it's like, oh, we're worried about this, we're worried about that. And one of us is smart enough to go, yeah, but we don't have to worry about that. If it happens, it happens. We'll figure it out.
yeah,
We have said at this point where we are right now,
ooh,
like we could lose everything in the world and we could stand up and move
yes,
forward. Like we even, it doesn't matter. It just feels like now you can just be that centered piece that what happens, happens. All the things that we're wanting and planning and thinking, if none of it happens, okay. Okay. We're completely content to not have that stuff. And that feels like a good place to be,
yes,
or to try to live. Now you have to remind yourself. Like I said, every once in a while I'll start
Not every
flipping out.
day.
He'll go, hey, 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 calm down, or vice versa. Well, God got us through that before. He'll get through this too. So,
get us through it.
but I think that's, just trying to, talk a little bit more about the ministry. I think it's just is what we can offer right now, or that's what I can offer right now. You can
Yeah,
just offer stories. You can just offer being there for people and working, hard on my job, being there for my family. I think is all I can offer, and I hope that that's what I wanted Cody to understand is that it's just whatever you have to give. Whatever it looks like, it looks like.
yeah,
Go find your two welding buddies and I don't know, weld something for Christ. I don't know.
yeah.
There
That's kind
surely is a welder for Christ out there.
that's kind of like the cowboy church where all these
Yes.
cowboys get together and have the church,
Yes.
you know,
Yes. And then have
and
Just
they
get
fun.
together and weld
rodeo
things
and they,
afterwards.
Whatever.
Have a
yeah,
weekly welding
whatever.
con.
I don't
Yeah,
know. It's whatever. But you just don't know what it looks like until you step out there and ask God.
yeah,
Just like this podcast,
yeah,
stepping out and doing it. Like I said, we don't know where it's going to go. We don't know. Heck, right
right.
now we don't even know week to week what it's doing.
Yeah,
It's just stepping out and doing it because right now it just feels like it's our little ministry.
yeah. And the thing is, there's so many needs out there that like homelessness or even immigration or people in hospice or nursing home ministries or I don't know. There's just a lot
Well,
of
it's
things
just
that you
finding,
can
looking for
do.
what you can do. Yeah,
Yeah,
what you
what you're
can do.
good to. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
good with that. There's a lady in our church that I don't know how she manages to do that, but just being in a hospital when somebody is sick or dying or whatever, she has found herself in helping in the medical things with people who are going through medical stuff. And it just seems to be her gifting that she is just so kind and so willing to go to the hospital with someone or sit with them in the doctor's office or uh and of course with us our people have to go to Lufkin or Nacogdoches or Houston or whatever, and she's so willing to go with them and just go in the motel room with them and get them to their doctor's office, visit the next. So that just means a lot to people. And even when someone died, she was there and could kind of walk them through the process of what happens to their loved one and calling the funeral home and just all those things that have to happen when someone dies. And she just has done that over and over and over again. And so that's a ministry. That's not one we all want to be involved in, but it's a ministry that just has certainly helped people walk through that valley of the shadow of death, with a loved one and all. So that's a ministry in itself.
Yeah. Do you think that there is a misconception, or that it may not be a misconception, maybe it's a judgment that people who aren't in a traditional church, maybe it's a Baptist thing, maybe it's a Southern Baptist thing. I don't know. I'm just asking. Do you think that there is a judgment for people who don't do traditional ministry,
Yes,
like traditional in the church ministry? Because I
sure.
was thinking too this past week when we were thinking about this is we don't come from a traditional ministry kind of family. per se. I mean, if you think about Dad, was in the ministry before and then went to teach for years, like stepped out of it
Mm-hmm.
and then went back. And then Edward, who's always my dad's brother, who is a pastor as well, but has always taught in the most rando places. They've always had the
Yes.
most random, like for years, they've had a church and a bar that has a church on Sunday morning, but that was a bar Saturday night.
Yes.
Just had that non-traditional ministry. And I just don't know. I wonder if people judge that or don't think that it's the same. Like, do you think that people think that you're not
Yes,
going to get to heaven doing it that way?
I do think there's a judgment on people who don't do it exactly like Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, whatever uh, other meetings that the church is meeting at. Because Edward was a chaplain in the jail. He was a chaplain in the hospitals. He's always been a minister, but he's never pastored a church. He's tried, but he's always ended up like that. And
Yeah.
in the jail, in the hospital, in the bar, on
Yeah.
the street with the homeless people. And so, no, God calls us in every
But
aspect of our life
isn't
and
that the way that
walk.
God worked though too, Jesus? Isn't that how he worked specifically as he was out in the world?
Yes.
He
Yes.
wasn't, and I think that we were talking about that other podcast we listened to. It was there's been two, but the one I think they were talking
New
about is
Beginnings. Was it? Are you talking about the one in New Beginnings?
yeah, Jeremy and Ginger Vuolo. I think we've talked about them before.
Mm-hmm.
Their podcast, and they had a gentleman named
They had Lecrae on there.
Lecrae, which I had never heard of him at all because I don't listen to contemporary Christian music, but I'd never heard him before. And I was listening to that going to, I think I texted it to y'all at like 6 a.m. because I
Yes.
was
Yeah.
listening to it on the way
Yeah.
to work. And I literally was sitting on 59, like just
It's really
watching this
good.
guy.
Yes, it
Like,
was.
I'm sitting in front of the
Mm.
baseball stadium on 59, literally clapping in my car, going, "Yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes." Because he was just talking about not being a traditional, because he's a Christian rapper and he works with mainstream artists, non Christian artists, and was catching flack for that or something. I don't really understand it all, but just talking about how God calls different. It could be different. It can be different,
Mm-hmm.
but that he had caught a lot of flack for that. But
Mm-hmm.
that's the way that Jesus worked. Like he was in the streets, he was in
Yes.
the places.
Well, I think it comes down
Yeah.
to the fact
He
that
went
if you
from town to
only
town. But what you will see that everywhere he went into the synagogue. He went into the house of the Lord to worship when the time come. So when you're looking at him walking from town to town and every place, like that, he was always found in the synagogue wherever he went. And that was to hear the word and teach the word. So I don't know what you can take away with that for that.
Yeah.
we talked about this earlier. Like that's what Lecrae said. That Jesus hung out with the prostitutes, but he wasn't going to the
He didn't go to the
brothel to
brothels.
do it.
Yeah.
But he is, and it's the same thing. Like you don't put yourself in that situation, kind of thing. But I think if you only interact with other Christians and you only interact with what society deems to be that level, how can you ever expect people who don't have a relationship with God or have never been exposed to it to get exposed to it until you expose them to somebody who knows about it?
Yeah.
That's the only way to reach it. And it's kind of weird to think that there would be Christians out there who would judge people for going out and ministering whatever it looks like just because you don't understand it. Like
Truly.
we talked about, like
Yeah.
I don't have that desire or that drive or that conviction to do the kind of ministry that like you would do it, like the woman you were just speaking of. Like that's not anything that I feel driven to do. The things
Mm-hmm.
that the way that whatever you want to call it in their personal, the personal things that I believe in or whatever, and that I support, they're mine and they work for me. People don't get to judge that,
Well,
and I know that, it's
God's
just,
not going to call you to what He's not going to equip you for. So if
yeah.
He hadn't equipped you for that, then don't worry
I
about
don't
it.
want you doing it because you're gonna mess it up.
Yeah.
And
Bill.
I remember us
Just lock-
talking about this
Just lock your
years
phone.
ago, and I don't remember what the context of it was, but me and Daddy were kind of on the same page. I think it's because, like, Daddy's was very much an academic, and he's not the guy to get out and build a house like with Habitat for Humanity. And I'm not. I don't remember what the situation was, but we had the conversation because, like, to use an example, like Dorcas and you and Dwayne, like, would get out and get your hands dirty and do all that kind of stuff because you have that Martha spirit. Like, you want to get out and help people and you want to do that. I don't want to do that. I will pay for the party. Like, I will front the bill for it, and that's my gift, but I don't want to host
It
it.
is your
Like,
gift.
I don't
It
want to do
is a
that.
gift. Yeah.
It's good. You have to have both sides of it. You have to have the Marthas or the whatevers, and you also have to, like, I'll bring dip or I'll pay for the dip. I will pay for the caterer as long as I don't have to host the party, but Dorcas can host it. You
Yeah, and
have
you'll
to
pay
have both
for
sides
it.
of it because not every Martha can host. You know what I'm saying? It's just,
Dip is a ministry.
but you don't know feeding people. You get my
Okay.
point.
Yes, we got your point, baby.
Thank you.
We're gonna let
Thank
you
you.
have it.
Thank you.
We
Well,
get it.
because it goes back to that same thing. Like, I heard this guy, it was a cult documentary, God help me. And he was talking about, it was one of the lawyers for somebody who was trying to get out of a cult. And he made the comment, he's like, I'm really not that worried about like everything that he's learning about this cult, about getting sucked in to the cult. He's like, because I don't give a crap about like when you make yourself better.
Self-improvement.
Self-improvement, because I don't give a crap about self-improvement, and I've never related to anything more because I don't care about that. Like, I don't think I'll ever get sucked into a cult where I want to change the world and I want to better it, like, like Nexium or Scientology or anything like that, because I don't want to be better. I'm completely content with this baseline of barely getting by emotionally, and I'm okay with that. But I will pay for it. Like, I'll pay for you to get better as long as I don't have to try and get better because I just don't care about that stuff.
And
And y'all are
time,
laughing
don't
at
you?
me and I don't like
Yeah.
it.
No, 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 no.
We have no
It's true.
Okay.
Just
But
saying. So everybody's
so
ministry is different.
Yeah.
so you
It
honor
is.
God with your money because there's a lot of people that go to church who don't even honor God with their offerings or tithes or whatever. So
I think that is
even
part
that,
of my,
yes,
I think because
that's
I
part of
learned
your
a long
spiritual
time
growth.
ago, it was because I learned a long time ago to trust. I can't trust God, or not that I can't, but I sometimes, I struggle with trusting God everywhere else except my finances. That is the one place where I can tithe every pay period and I don't think about it. I don't fail. And I hate to say it in a bragging way, but consistently. But every other area of my life, I will struggle with trusting God. But with my money, I learned when I was like 22 years old what he's going to do with that. And maybe there's a part of
Yeah.
me that's a little naive thinking, I don't want him to get mad at me and punish me if I don't tithe this week, kind of thing. But it goes back to like one of the very first times that God came through with that is when I was in my first, like, or second apartment and I was waiting tables and money was rough, but I was trying to tithe, like, all of my dollar bills that I got from the restaurant, you tithe and you do all this stuff. And I was like $127 short on rent and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was really stressed out about it. And I was praying about it and praying about it. And I swear to the good Lord above, I got a check in the mail that week from the IRS saying that I never cashed a small tax refund check from like 2 years before for $127. And so God gave me exactly what I needed. And what's so funny is I remember getting that check and throwing it in my purse and never doing anything with it. And then 6 months go by and checks are no longer good. And so I just went, okay, whatever, it's $127. But they canceled the check and they sent me a new one. And so I remember that being the first time that God provided exactly what I needed financially. And so I would just kind of get in this habit about trusting God with the money. Everything else, bringing me a husband, didn't trust him on that. Bringing me children, don't trust him on that. Having the house okay, don't trust him on any of that. And I struggle with it constantly. But the money side of it, I'm like, yeah, no problem. It's going to be fine. I'm going to tithe and God's going to take care of it. It's all going to work itself out.
But he proved himself on the other things. I mean, you
Eventually,
have a
yes.
husband. Yes.
I do.
Yes,
Eventually. I mean,
eventually, yes.
I'm Sarah over here waiting, till I'm like 80, but yeah, eventually. So that I feel like that's the only really thing I can't lead somebody or I can't inspire somebody with trusting God to send your husband and not being stressed about it and all this kind of stuff because I'm constantly stressed about it. But if someone was to ask me about tithing and what my thoughts are on tithing, I can talk about that all day, every day. And I understand the purpose of tithing. I understand why the churches need it. I can understand why people who are new to that or don't understand what tithing is for can look at a church or look at people within the church and not trust that part of what God calls us to do. Because did y'all see the clips this week? The whole thing about the pastor, the clips that came up with that pastor who locked the doors and wouldn't let people leave till they donated like forty thousand
I didn't
Oh
dollars.
watch
yeah.
all of
Yeah, that was
something like that.
It's
It
I
felt a
can
little
see it's yeah, because I can see how somebody, if you don't have the faith in what God is wanting you to do with the tithe from a biblical standpoint, you look at that situation and be like, I would have Like if our old pastor, if JB tried to pull that nonsense, there would be a Lydia-shaped hole in the door, because you're not going to force me to do anything, but you're not tithing to the pastor. You're tithing to God and his ministries, and, understanding that that's how you keep the lights on and that's how you provide the ministries. Again, I don't want to go out and talk to people about Jesus, but I want to tithe so that other people can. That's my spiritual
And
mandate.
and giving to the Lord is a form of worship too. So that's just the way it is. So
Yeah.
anyway, so thank you, my love, for that testimony.
If I don't
And
want
trust it.
self-improvement,
Trust.
yeah, I'm good being just like this. I will never get sucked into a cult like those people who are like, I want to better the world and I want to make the world better. It's like, I don't. I want to go to take a nap, and that's about it. That's really all I want to do. I don't want to read to make myself better. Not even a little.
Well,
I'm
you're
fine the
good,
way I am. Yep.
but you are. You're always growing and growing stronger and better. You're one of the most courageous people I know. But
You've said that to me a
absolutely,
couple of times, and I don't see it like that, because everything that I do that you say I'm courageous for, I go into with a spirit of fear and anxiety. But I appreciate you saying that
yes,
about
but
me,
you
Mama.
still do it though. You just
Oh,
still do it.
100%.
So
I feel like
one of these
alien. I
days,
feel like an alien's about to crawl out of my stomach, like 1978 style. So I appreciate you
mm,
thinking I'm brave, because inside I'm dying.
yeah, because you still do it. I get excited about doing something, then I get afraid and I don't do it. So I can see that for both of y'all.
No, I'll do
Okay.
it
Well,
before I leave next week.
I appreciate y'all hopping on again this week to make up for our last week.
Yes.
Good doing this every once in a while. Yeah, we do 2 a week.
Yeah. Oh, we need to.
We got to catch up and get ahead. Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be things are calming down in theory for a little bit. I leave for my work trip on Sunday, so I won't be here Monday, but y'all feel free to meet again, because we already have next week's
I'm sure we will.
recorded, but y'all go ahead. I'm not gonna be able to do
Okay.
it. Y'all can talk about self-improvement. I don't want to be part of that conversation.
Okay. We won't make it.
I'm in Scientology, so y'all can hear what they have to say.
That's too
Just
committed.
kidding. If you're listening,
That's like,
R.L. Hubbard,
that's like being
don't come.
Catholic. That's just too much.
He did.
It's
He
too
did.
much.
He did.
That's
I'm
a
like,
lot of
you want me to read, and it's not about
too many books,
dragons or vampires? I'm not
too
doing
many
that.
workbooks. No, thank you. I
Yeah,
can't. I can't.
yeah, we're
I mean,
good.
I'm just grateful right now. My little Bible study is one question a day, because that's what
It
I have
is.
Yeah. I
that
But
am.
it's
capacity for. So.
it's
Yeah.
very good. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
you know
very
what? If I
refreshing.
hadn't, I think if I hadn't had been involved in that Bible study, the peace of God was nowhere near that night, and that's the one verse that kept coming back to my mind
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
we tried to
I'll send
sleep
you
and
I'll send you
tried
a
to rest.
picture of today's. I texted it to Dwayne today, because the first
Uh-huh.
and third sentence of my Bible study today was exactly what I was dealing
Exactly.
with, or what I'm dealing with exactly.
Really?
So
And which day was that?
can't talk about it today, but I can tell you, I can send it to y'all later. But
Please do.
anyway, it was good. Text it.
Yeah.
Text it to Melissa too. Look what happens. Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us for another unscripted, I don't know, we have no plan episode about losing cell phones and, God knows what else. So thanks for tuning in. Be sure to give us a rating, follow, do all that stuff on all the social media, anywhere you get your podcasts. You can find more information about us at themotheryouknow.com. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye bye.